Hello, YouTube land.
Hi.
I don't know if we'll post this other places.
Okay, hello people.
Hello, peoples. I'm Polly.
I'm Gina.
And this is Can They Say That?
They can.
And they will.
And we do.
And we
actually.
do. We're the they.
Yeah.
We keep saying that every
Yes,
single time, but
yes.
we're going to keep saying it until it just like plays in your head over and over again. So today we're going to be talking about what do you dance for? And so I'm about to start the recording for the podcast, and we just wanted to get on and say hola.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're excited about this one. It's going to be
Yes,
fun.
yes.
Okay, so here we go.
Can they say that?
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 They can, and they will.
Hello, you guys. How are y'all doing today?
Welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome. I am Polly Hamp,
And I am Gina Berkmeyer.
and we are episode 3.
3. Wow, that went fast.
It did. It really did.
Lightning fast.
Yes, and we're really excited. Our launch went really great, and we're having fun just getting to talk with you guys. And we love your interaction, and we love just the encouragement, but also the questions.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun. So
It has been a lot of fun.
yeah, so we're glad you're joining us today. And today's topic is going to be what do you dance for? And I'll explain a little bit about why that title is that way, because, you know, we can picture dance of being beautiful ballet or just fun.
Or
all
Jim
out.
Carrey.
Or Jim
in
Carrey.
Ace Ventura, Pet
Yeah.
Detective.
I can't do it. Yeah, gosh, wow.
If you don't know what it is, Google it.
Sorry, people on the camera, you had to see that.
Yeah.
That was awful.
It was pretty funny,
Yeah,
actually.
you realize
Thanks
that
for
you're,
that.
you're welcome. I'm here for you, girl. But what we're talking about today is what do you dance for that's a performance that is not who you are created to be.
Well, it actually came from your book.
It did.
Cherished.
Yes, it
right?
came from
And
my book.
It's a quote from your book.
Yes, and so I'll share a little bit about how this came to is when I was running a ministry, one of the things that I hated was the ask. Like
That's A-S-K,
a-
y'all.
Yeah,
Ask.
not ask. Yes, not the
A-S-K.
donkey.
K.
Thanks for the clarification.
welcome.
Now I'm afraid. I'm like, am I-
Yeah, you're good. No, you're good.
Okay, do I just-
Please continue.
Okay, thanks. And so I hated the ask, and I would get up on stage and I'd be sharing my testimony, be talking and inviting people, but I had this, literally a visceral emotion to ask people to be a part of the ministry, whether it would be financial or volunteer or anything. And so one time I was praying and just asking the Lord some questions, and he's like, Polly, do you know why you're afraid? And I'm like, no. And he said, remember, you used to get up on stage. Part of my story, if you haven't listened to all of our podcasts, is I am almost every statistic that put me into the sex industry. So at 18 years old, I started stripping in a club, and I would get up on stage and take my clothes off for an ask, and it would be for money. And so I was connecting those two things of how God had, redeemed me and pulled me out from the pit of hell, and invited me through and walked me through this healing life.
Sometimes maybe pull.
Sometimes pull, yeah. Dragging, kicking, and screaming. There might have been a little bit of that.
Right.
But I had a choice.
You did.
I chose. And so, but then I would stand up and do the ask. And what would happen is I would connect those two experiences to the one that tried to take my life.
Yep.
And so I would stand up on stage and I know the Lord, I've been redeemed. I've got healing that's been incredible. And I would stand up there frozen because I'm like, God, how do I do this? Because I felt like I was dancing for people.
Performing.
I was performing for people to give.
Yeah.
And when God started, and it was not a miraculous healed, here I am, I've got this thing figured out. It's still difficult for me to ask, but it's just, it's a process to really understand what's so deep in me from that experience.
And there's actually a quote from your book that I want to read that I think really brings that in so concisely and beautifully. It says, "It looked like me choosing to get up on that stage again, and again. It looked like me choosing all the things I defined as freedom, drinking, drugs, sex, money, that were actually keeping me tied in knots. And it looked like me trying to fix it myself, trying to do better, giving up what I thought was wrong behavior for the right thing, and being my own source of truth. It did not work at all." And that was sort of that old performance mentality that was trying to whisper in your ear that you were basically doing the same thing all over again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So what it was doing was silencing the true identity that was in me, the true dance that I have, like that is big and bold and fun and crazy and all the things and passionate and loving. It was suppressing me because it was attached to all the sex, drugs, money, control, everything.
Yeah.
And so why do we do things like that?
Yeah.
You know, my story it can be extreme. A lot of people, have not been in the sex industry, but a lot of us have a past. I've talked to several women. They're like, I just never got paid for what I did. And, it is that thing. It's going, we cannot compare stories, but we still can have the same path and the questions we ask ourselves of, what do I dance for that is not my true identity?
Right.
What am I dancing for where I'm giving myself away to others for the cheers, for the money, for the praise that actually, manipulates our souls?
Yeah, and I would say often we're the unintended author of that manipulation. And we talked before the show started, we were actually talking about the two different kinds of dancing, right? There is that dancing that feels like that performance-based, because there is a if I this, then someone will, right? That's kind of the equation that we put together with that. If I perform, then I can be accepted, I can be loved, I can be safe, I can, whatever that might be, whether it's from something deeply ingrained in your history or just a false belief about self in the present that might not be wholly connected to something so deep in the past. Most often it is. But that performance dance, right, which has all of those things, if I this, then someone else will, fill in the blank. I'll be more valuable, I will be acceptable, all of those things. Versus that you hear the music and it's your favorite song and you cannot sit still no matter how hard you try. It's that your soul is just in control of your feet and your body and you're just dancing and you don't care who's watching and you don't care how loud the music is, the louder the better. And it's just, it oozes out of who you are in that moment, right? And it's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of being, just being.
Yeah.
And I think those are the two different kinds of dance.
Yeah.
I see it that way a little bit.
Well, and so when we think about, when we use the metaphor, what do you dance for? We can talk about the physical, the freedom, but we're trying to connect it to what's inside of you that's truly you. And then what is the false version of yourself that kicks your ass, that keeps you from being alive because you're performing for everybody else? And do you dance for your family? Do you dance for your kids? Do you dance for ministry, your job, your church, your spouse, your friends?
Or more abstract.
Yeah.
Do you dance for self-worth? Do you dance for approval? Do you dance for love?
Yeah.
Do you dance for inclusion?
And do you dance out of fear? Do you dance out of, it's like, if I stop dancing, I'm not going to know who I am when I stop. And so it is taking this idea and asking yourself, who do I dance for? What do I dance for? And so there'll be some questions at the end of our podcast
Yes.
because, again, we'll keep reiterating this through most of our podcasts is we don't want to just give you guys information.
No.
We don't want to just give...
There's a lot of information out there, guys.
Yeah.
We don't want to just be a couple more voices speaking into the abyss.
We want you to find the passion in you. We want you to ask the questions of yourself, and then what are your actions? What's the next step for you? Or, just how you're seeing the world and yourself. And so we'll ask some questions at the end and things like that too.
And I think, we're using this metaphor of dance, but we mean more than dance,
Yes.
right? It's, what is that thing? Is it writing? Is it painting? Is it helping people? Is it becoming a volunteer? Is it changing your career because you're doing what you think you should do rather than doing something that is really based out of who you are? Is it changing some of the boundaries in your life and learning how to say things a little bit differently for your own sense of health and truly for the sense of the health of those around you? So I think it's a whole lot of different things. When we say dance, I think you guys get it, that we don't mean just dancing. There's a lot more to that. And so Marsha Linehan, I love her. She is actually the mother of DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And she says, dance ugly, learn to dance ugly. Because when you learn something new, it can be ugly, right? I don't know if any of you have taken a dance class or even at the gym or an actual dance studio. It's one of my favorite kinds of exercise. Shockingly, not everyone agrees with me on that one. It's not everyone's bag, and it's not everybody's jam, and I get that, but it kind of looks a little awkward and ugly in the beginning, and that's okay. It's okay. It's like the foal getting its legs,
That's good. I love when you were talking a little bit earlier about connection, just a few sentences back. I was picturing shackles on our feet, and what holds us to not be able to move freely, to not be able to dance freely. And the shackles, again, being fear or that communication is so huge. It's so, if we've not ever experienced healthy communication, it's very difficult to be able to do something we don't know.
That's right.
And so, whether you communicate with your spouse, however you communicate with your kids, however you communicate with your family or friends, is it creating more shackles that keeps you back from being able to dance, or is it starting to free you to be able to connect with people in another way?
Yes.
And I'm trying to get this idea. It's like stirring in my head, and I'm trying to get the words for it. But so say I have performed in my family for years, and everybody expects me to perform for them. And I've done it really well. I've kept the peace. I've saved all the people that I'm supposed to save because that's, what my family expects within the codependency aspect. But then I'm going, you know what? No longer do I want to wear the shackles that are keeping me back. And how do I start communicating in a way that frees me, but also frees the people around me to dance? And so, do you have any thoughts on that?
A little bit. So I think part of it is what you're essentially saying is when we're all a part of a system in one way or another.
Yes.
And when you begin to change, by definition, it changes the whole system. Okay, because one part of the system that changes is going to change the whole system. That's why in science, when they go out and they observe, they are so careful not to disturb a leaf because they believe even the tiniest influence is going to disrupt the system, right? So I think the same thing is true in families and relationships. And when you begin to change, you will encounter resistance, particularly if you are the person who has been doing all the things for the people, right? So when you encounter that resistance, just like in anything else in life, that our brain sends a signal, that says, oh, resistance, stop, go do the thing where there is no resistance. We actually want to learn how to get to really embrace the suckiness of that feeling and really figure out, okay, this is really uncomfortable. Well, maybe it's a signal that I'm doing something right rather than I'm doing something
That's good.
wrong.
Yeah.
In spite of what the system is telling you.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And we can talk, I think it might be a good idea to sort of, in our action steps towards the end, maybe we'll give some points of how do you take your temperature internally to know if maybe you are a person who is stuck in that performance, in the performance dance. Yeah.
So I want to talk to the guys a little bit. I know most of our audience, I believe, is women at this point, but let's talk to the guys, because the guys a lot of them are raised very much, this is what you do. You have this line you walk, you don't dance, you perform, or you don't freely dance, you dance to perform. It's a performance-based life. You don't cry, you don't have emotions, things like that. And not all guys are raised that way.
No.
But it is a very,
Very common.
very common thing. So how does a guy come in and say, I have the shackles on my feet and I no longer want to perform? And I'm curious. I'd love to hear from our male listeners.
Me too.
About that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard as a perspective from a female, for me in particular, to be able to put words in a guy's mouth of what's that like to break outside of that mold. So I'd love to hear from the guys that have broken out of the mold and said, I don't perform for anybody anymore. I love well.
Yes.
But I am me in most circumstances. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Well, I think clients, I'm thinking of some clients that I've worked with historically, male clients who have had some of that going on. And this is not just true for male clients, this is true for female clients as well. Oftentimes we have to start, rather than starting with, let's learn a new thing, sometimes we have to unlearn something first. So challenging definitions of what is a strong man?
Yeah.
What is the definition of successful? What is the definition of health? What is the definition of emotionality? When I say emotions, what do you think of? Asking questions like what emotions were permitted in your house when you were growing up?
Yeah.
What was acceptable? What was encouraged? What was discouraged? Those kinds of things. Sometimes we need those aha moments, those light bulb moments, and really a sort of dismantling before we can, because if we just, it's really good to begin new habits, because then we're already engaging the brain to do new things and go in a new direction, which is wonderful. But those old habits are very deeply ingrained.
Yes.
So it can be a source of frustration. I'm trying this new thing. I'm trying. Why does this old message keep coming back?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Sometimes it's really helpful to go dismantle that, because
Good.
I think you can get more forward momentum that way.
That's good. So, can I put you on the spot?
Oh, geez. She does it all the time, you guys, whether it's on video or, yeah, go ahead.
I feel more like a little hesitant because we are on video and we're recording. But when we were talking about this topic a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the video and all of that, do you know what I'm going toward? Kind of like, you were like, oh my gosh, I think I know why I don't want to do this thing.
Yeah. So, darling Polly.
I love you.
I love you too. So she decided that it would be really great to do the vlog. And I know you in podcast land can't see this, but we actually have a video camera sitting in front of us that is incredibly awkward for me. And I was super resistant. I was actually surprised by my own level of resistance. And I was like, dude, this is not necessary.
Yeah, I was surprised by your resistance too, because I'm like, wait a second, we're the same person. I don't know why we're not.
We're not, you guys. We're not enmeshed, I promise.
Yeah, no, not in an
enmeshment
unhealthy
here.
way, no.
But it was funny because she's like, no, we need to do this. This is a thing. This is a good idea. And there was nothing in me that wanted to do that. But I acquiesced to her request very reluctantly. And I was having this internal dialogue, quite frankly, through the entire first podcast, thinking to myself, what is my deal? Why can't I who cares? It's a video camera. I'm not typically the one that cares a whole lot about what people think. And so, but it came down to, in my past, a really big part of my past, I modeled. sometimes very little clothing. And it was all about putting myself in front of other people to perform. It was the look at me, watch how I do things, look at me physically, because people could look at me all day long in that arena and never, ever, ever really see me.
That's right.
And so I think that there was an old thread that connected this to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not uncomfortable in front of the camera, but I was feeling incredibly awkward about it. And so I had to do a little business internally. I had to do some gardening, dig out that root, recognize what it was, and then say, okay, it is what it is. Now I know where it came from. Is there any truth I need to look at in that? Am I still trying to perform? And I need to deal with that. And then if I'm not, I need to tell that voice to shut up and to sit down. And because now there's something God can do with my presence on camera that he couldn't have done in my presence on camera before.
Yeah. Thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that.
Don't do that again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
In the next 3 minutes?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
deal.
I will
Yes.
agree with that. But that's all I'm giving you.
I know,
is 3
fair.
minutes.
That's fair.
Okay.
It's very fair. It's very fair.
So I love that. One of the things you said is the thread. And I wrote down the question for our actions toward the end here. It's just, what is the thread that connects? And I think if we keep living life performing, if we keep living this life of just going, there's just something in me that I'm silencing. If we keep moving in that, you're never going to have your true identity. You're never
Yes.
going to discover it.
Yep.
Yet we get to now discover it.
Right.
And you get to choose, and it's that wrestle. It's like what I love about our friendship is that it's like, we can say what we're thinking out loud with words, and then we challenge each other in it. And so I think it's particularly important to have people in your life that will help you help see the thread.
Yes.
And and kind of help you. And I'm not saying like the whole enmeshment thing that we were joking about.
Right.
Because we can go from one dance performance to another one,
That's right.
thinking it's different just because it looks different, but it has the same root and expectation. And so I love that. It's like, what is the thread that pulls this together? It was like the thread that had me, on the stage, taking my clothes off for men and women, and then the thread that had me standing up in front of people, focusing on ministry and the freedom of the very women that were on the stage.
Yes.
And so what is that thread? And so
speaking of that, since you've already started on questions and things for people to move forward on, let's use these last few minutes and do that, because I think we have a few, right?
Yeah, we do.
So you want to start with what you just, a little bit more about define your thread?
Yes. So this week, next week, all the weeks. Yes, because it's going to be interesting when you start looking for your threads. They just start popping up. And it's that being vulnerable. And I love what you said. Let that sandpaper, whatever is like, how do you say it? It's like if something feels
sandpaper
sandpapery.
effect?
Yeah, it's like, this feels weird. It's like, look at it. Be willing to look at it. So be vulnerable. So one of the questions is, what's the thread that is keeping you from really dancing in your full potential and fun and silly and big? So what is the thread? Or threads?
Right. I think another thing is identify your stress, because a lot of times that can be a really good indicator of where we are trying to live out of a performance-based mentality.
It's good.
So what is stressing you out? Where are the relationships where you feel pressure, where you feel tension, where you feel like I'm doing this thing, but there's this little thing inside that is just exhausted by it? Or where do you feel resentment in certain relationships? Because what you're doing is you're performing, you're giving the other person what you think they want, but you're resentful because it's not really what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's another place to really be examining your life this week and further on. And then challenge your definitions. Challenge your definitions like we said earlier. What is your definition of acceptance? What is your definition of love? What is your definition of success and health. And if you need help with this, especially if you have a history, a story that has trauma in it, or even if you're not sure that that's what you have endured, but you think maybe because you're just struggling with this, get some help. Get some help. And if you need help getting help, message us, and we would love to try to help you do that as well.
Yes, very much so. Okay, so we have the question, and then the other question I want to ask is, what steals your dance? And I think it's very much connected to the thread, but what is stealing? So if we've got two different kinds of dances, we have the one where we perform, where we, feel like things are, we're dancing because we need acceptance. We're dancing because we're, struggling with recovering from codependency, or we're fearful if we dance any other way, people are not gonna accept us. Again, that acceptance.
Right.
So, and then the second dance is that thing that Gina talked about earlier about what bubbles up inside of you that you cannot, I just can't wait to squeal and dance and have fun and be big and loud. And that big and loud isn't always necessarily literally that. It's just that thing and that expression that comes out of you that makes you fully, truly alive. And so, what are your two dances? What are the different dances? And really discovering that. So,
and I have one more fun thing that I would like you to do.
Okay.
I would like everybody this week to identify a couple things that, a couple songs that are the ones that play in your head that are just fun, that make you smile, that you find yourself humming, all that good stuff. And just really turn them on, turn them up, and dance like nobody's watching. Just, even if you do it for 30 seconds, just try. Just try.
And you guys, if you don't dance, there is movement. There's something that frees, literally frees you because it's a right brain thing. It just
Left
you're
brain.
dancing?
Oh, sorry, dancing.
Yeah.
My bad.
Dancing, we need to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay.
Please continue.
It's a right brain thing, and it endorphins and energy and excitement. And dance with your friends, dance with your kids, dance with, your coworkers in the kitchen. They might think you're crazy, but have a laugh. And so have fun this week. Be joyful.
Yes.
Invite people to dance.
Yes.
And,
And if you have kids or pets, I'm telling you, just do it. It's so fun.
Yeah.
To turn the music on, turn the music up, dance with your kids, dance with your pets. Even your pets will start marching and having fun. And it's a place of joy and just a little bit of relief. And we would love to see you find that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to post all of those on Facebook. We'll post these under our YouTube video as well that Gina loves so much.
It's my favorite now.
Yes.
So you follow us on. I'm sorry, I have to do it.
I have to do it. Okay,
You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook. Or if you'd like to combine them all for efficiency, you can follow us on UTwitFace.
Okay.
That doesn't exist. Go look for it. Don't go look for it.
We should start it. Or somebody else start it and let us know.
Let us know and we'll follow you.
So she's been waiting. She's like, can I say it? Can I say it?
It might happen more than once.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Can they say that?
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay. She did, and she will. She will, and she did.
And I did.
Okay, so next week we are going to tackle a really big issue.
Much more serious.
The title is Stained Glass.
Right.
And it's
how abuse has stained our church and what we can do about it. Because we're always about the what can we do about it.
Yeah. So very much the then what. And we'll be talking about the sexual abuse that's in the church and that's being hidden.
Yes.
And again, we really, we want to talk about what do we do in our souls and how can we really help and understand what's going on. But then also, how do we know what our churches are doing?
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. I think we're out of time for today.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.